Hey guys, welcome back to The Occasional Angler. We do tips, trips and advice for you anglers out there who are born to fish but forced to work. Today I'm going to do a review of the Majorcraft Speedstyle. So let's get into it.
Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering why my mind keeps on spinning. This isn't how living to me was sold. Why am I like this? Something's always amiss. Can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad? Sometimes I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light of day, but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering how the world keeps on spinning, kinda scared of living when it unfolds. Hard to see the light when everything is dying, waiting for the clear. Thankful I'm alive, but terrified of dying. But hey, I'm still here.
So, the Majorcraft Speedstyle. This has been getting quite a lot of attention in the BFS world, in the UK anyway. Majorcraft are a rod manufacturer from Japan, so JMD tackle, Japanese domestic market. Although I did notice that this rod was actually built in Vietnam, so hence maybe the price tag. This rod sits within a range of rods, freshwater rods, which are made by Majorcraft. This rod is in a range, so the entrance level of this range are the Cena, then it goes the Bass Para, the first cast, the Benki, then the Speedstyle, then the Days, then the MSX, and then the MSX Limited. So it is basically sort of in the middle of the pack, if you like. The MSX Limited being the sort of top of the range Rolls Royce of their rods, and the Cena being the sort of like entry level rods. So, the Majorcraft Speedstyle. This rod's been getting quite a lot of attention over here recently. A couple of channels like Perch Finder, really great channel by the way. If you haven't seen it, go over there and check it out. Catches a lot of big perch. He's been raving about this rod, and in fact, the reason I bought this rod was because he had been raving about it, so I went out and got it, and I was very pleased. Thank you very much. So this series of rods comes in either spinning or casting. The casting models, there's 11 models in total. I'm only interested in BFS, so bait finesse system rods, which can cast down to roughly about 1 gram. So this model is the SSC Speedstyle 642 UL, which is ultralight, BF model, which is bait finesse. This model is 6'4". It's a regular fast action, which I can agree with. It is. It casts lures from 1/32 of an ounce to 1/4 of an ounce, which is roughly just under a gram to probably about 7 grams, and it's rated for lines from 3 to 10 pounds. I've fished with it with £3 line. Personally, I find that a little bit too light for myself, but it is forgiving enough to fish lines that light. I use £6 fluorocarbon leader, and I use 12 to 15 pound braided backing. So this rod has Fuji K-frame silicon carbide guides and rings. So again, they used to be top of the range. Now you're looking at the titanium titanium K-frames with Torzite inserts, which are now the sort of top of the range, but these are still very, very good rings. The blank itself is a nano power carbon composite. You tell me what that means. It's got some kind of nano carbon alloy in the construction of the blank, and this is basically, I think it's in part something to do with the resin which they use on the rod blank, but it makes the rod stiffer, stronger and lighter. The handle itself is a Fuji PTS reel seat and a hard EVA. Again, very, very comfortable, really nice, it feels comfortable, and the lockdown reel seat is excellent. So let's start from the back. So this rod, it's got an EVA back handle. The actual handle section itself is very, very small. I like that, it feels really comfortable on this rod. It's got golden aluminium inserts, trims here, and then the full first section of this rod, it's a 2-section rod, has got that carbon wrap, so a carbon weave over the top of the actual carbon blank itself, which makes it much torsionally much stronger. They do this on a lot of modern spinning rods now, and that cross wrap, essentially, which is a carbon tape which they wrap around the actual blank, is put in there to stop torsional movement in the rod. So when you cast, it casts straight, essentially. I believe that's the thinking involved with these. So that goes from the butt section here all the way up to the spigoted joint here, and then the second section, the tip section, doesn't have any of that extra carbon weave on top of it. Coming up from the EVA handle here, you're coming up to a really nicely sculpted cork grip, which marries very nicely and accurately with this Fuji reel seat, and this feels very comfortable in the hand. Coming up from there, it comes up to a screw down reel seat here, which is extremely, if I just take that out, it's extremely secure. Once it's on, once that's in, it's really nice. This reel seat at the front as well has got a little carbon trim in there and another little bit of gold aluminium trim, and then finished off with a bit of EVA. It's all very neat, it looks very good. Moving up from here, we've got the graphics, etc. And then we've got the guide system up here. We keep on going. It's a spigoted joint, which is really nice. I like that on rods. I prefer that to just push over. I feel it just gives you better connection, really. And then all the way up to the tip. So I'm going to just do a quick sort of rundown of the things which I like and dislike about this rod in the next section. Okay guys, so I'm going to do a little section about the things which I like and dislike about this rod. Firstly, the weight. This rod is incredibly light. I mean, it really is incredibly light. I weighed it up with the reel, which is a Shimano Calcutta Conquest BFS reel, and the combined weight of this rod and reel is 35 grams. So it's just nice going out fishing with a rod which is so light. So thumbs up on that one. Second, it's a fast action rod. It is a pretty fast action rod, actually. It's not super crazy fast, but it's pretty fast action rod. But it loads really well. When I was actually thinking about this rod, I was thinking, it's a through action, isn't it? It's quite a sort of slow action rod. It kind of bends all the way through to the tip. And it was actually only when I went and sort of did the test and looked and saw where it was actually bending, which was basically the last quarter or last third of the rod. And I thought, okay, here's a fast action rod. But it loads really well. It loads like a sort of through action rod, which is really nice on those lighter lures. So once you get down into those kind of lures, which are, you know, sort of 2 or 3 grams, you want something which can load up well, and it can. So it's great for casting light lures, and also it's really forgiving on bigger fish. And I've had a couple of big fish on this rod, and it really absorbed those lunges and really well. So it's a great rod for fighting fish and for casting. So number 3, it's very sensitive, this rod. It's this nanocarbon technology which is filtering down into a lot of new rods, a lot of new spinning rods, and probably into fly rods as well. So yes, you can really feel what's going on the end. It's a nice light rod and a nice sensitive rod, as long as you're using the right kind of lines. For example, as long as you've got a taut line using your basic braids, you'll feel a lot of stuff, so which is great when you're fishing on the bottom, because you can feel, am I in silt, am I hitting some rocks, is this weedy around here? And also you can detect sort of bites very early, which obviously makes it much better for setting that hook. Number 4, the tapered cork handle and the short cork and the short handle configuration. Right, the tapered cork handle on this rod is really nice. It's sort of like, it flares out a little bit at the end, then comes in, and then is quite nice, and it really fits my hand nicely. The actual reel seat itself is got a bit of bare blank there, so you get to feel the vibration a little bit more through there as well, so it increases sensitivity. But I really, really love this cork handle. It's really comfortable, and you know, with little rods like this, you do quite often cast one-handed, and so to have a nice feeling rod handle here, yeah, well done Majorcraft, you made a really nice handle. Okay, number 5, the secure reel seat lockdown. So this reel seat has got this lockdown system here, and it's as good as any I've ever had. I mean, it really is very, very secure. Once it goes in, it's got, essentially when it screws up, there's like these 2 little channels which hold this section in place so it doesn't sort of swivel around. That's really frustrating. You know what I'm talking about. You're trying to get your reel seat to sort of like cinch down, and that bit starts flipping all over the place. So they've stopped that. They've got these 2 little channels, and that holds it in place. But once it goes down, it's in. It's not going anywhere. So top notch. Really impressed with that. Right, number 6. Probably not so important on a lot of rods, but for a lot of guys out there, I suppose it does mean something. The graphics on this are pretty nice. You know, they're quite modern looking graphics. They're bold, nice colours. They've used nice fonts for the Speedstyle. Yeah. Does it make you catch fish better? No. But if you're into that kind of thing, it does look nice. Number 7. So it has a spigoted joint. That is, there's a carbon, the carbon rod actually goes up further, and then that inserts inside of the next section rather than the top section sliding on top of the actual bottom section. I've always been much more of a fan of spigoted joints. I think they're just better in general. It you know, it's personal preference, but I like that. So again, thumbs up for that. Okay, now to the dislikes. Number 1, the rod sleeve. Now, rod sleeves, I'm not sure if you're the same as me, but the second I get a rod, I take the rod sleeve and I pretty much fold it up and put it in a box, and it never sees the light of day again. And that is very true of the rod sleeve which I was supplied with this rod. It's a starchy rod sleeve which really, I can't, I tend to transport my rods made up because I'm going down to the river or the lake. I want to get there, get out of the car and start fishing straight away, because if you follow my channel, you know that a lot of the videos which I do are about fast fishing. You know, I have to get there, catch fish within an hour and then go home generally. So yeah, it's completely useless for me. Something to send it out in. I really wish that they provided sort of rod sleeves which you could actually use properly. Maybe if it could fold out so it could take the rod when it's fully made up, that would be good. Or and also, I'm just not a fan of like these starchy material rod sleeves. They do nothing for me, and I sometimes use them to like as door stops or to wipe down a table. Waste of time. Right, second dislike. So I mean, this isn't a biggie, but like where you've got the spigoted joint, it would be really nice as this is a relatively expensive rod. It would be really nice to have a little dot so you could line up these 2 points, because otherwise it's kind of, you're looking down the rod trying to work out is it straight. But if you had the dots there, you can just like put it together, adjust it, done. So yeah, if you get onto your next set of rods, Majorcraft, if you could put just a little lining up dot just between these two, it's just like that little extra level of detail. People appreciate it and it's really useful. Okay, which gets me on to my third and final dislike about this rod. And believe me, I do like this rod, so I'm trying to sort of keep it short. This rod, I've loaded it up so I can see it curving, and I was really surprised to see that the line was rubbing against the actual blank. And they have not put enough guides on this rod. So how many guides are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 guides in total. But once it's loaded up, and I'll show you a little video here, you can see it. You can clearly see when this rod loads up that the last 3 or 4 sections of the blank, the guides, the lines sort of running beside the blank easily. It's rubbing right against the side of it. I've caught big fish on this rod, and you know, there must have been a lot of line rub during that fight, because it was quite a prolonged fight with I think it was like a 14-pound carp. So obviously it survived, but you know, they've designed a specific rod to do a specific purpose, which is to load up properly and to fight a fish when it's loaded. And to have that happening on a rod of this caliber, I was just surprised, to be honest. I mean, God knows, does it affect the ability of this rod? I don't know, probably doesn't. But I was just a bit disappointed. So if you're watching this, Majorcraft, please put some more guides on there so you don't get that. That doesn't seem right. Hey guys, I've just set up a little course out here. I just wanted to show you how this Majorcraft Speedstyle actually casts. This is the UL ultralight BF model, so it's rated from about 0.5 gram to 7 grams casting weight. I've set up a hoop and a GoPro out there at about 30 It's about 30 feet roughly. This isn't to show you how far it can cast, it's just really to show you what it can cast. I've got 3 little weights here, starting at 4 grams, then 3 grams, and then 1 gram. So hopefully I can show you how it performs. So let's have a go. This rod is 6'4", and I'm using 6 pound fluorocarbon leader, and that goes onto a 15 pound Daiwa J braid. So let's give it a go. That got the distance, but I didn't quite hit the mark. We'll give it another go. Okay, let's swap it up for another one. Okay, we've swapped up for a 3 gram. So let's see if we can just get that out. I was underarm casting, pitching it basically before, and that was a little bit difficult. So I've swapped over to the other side and just doing a straightforward cast. So let's see how that goes. Not sure if you can see this, my cat's going mental while I'm trying to cast this. Thinks it's a game. Just 3 grams, it's quite happily making 30 yards, that's not the problem. It doesn't help when you've got your cat trying to catch it at the same time. But yeah, at 30 feet, sorry, it's quite happy to get out there with 3 grams. We're making the distance, no problems. It was a little bit easier with the 4 grams. That little bit of extra weight actually just carried it a little bit more and helped with accuracy. I think I could probably just about pitch it to that distance using 3 grams. So let's drop down to 1 gram and let's see how that goes. Okay, so I've adjusted my spool tension. This is the 1 gram. It feels quite light on this rod. I've got to say 1 gram is very light. So let's just give that a go and see if we can get it out there. Okay. Oh, so the second cat's getting involved now. Brilliant. Okay, so first off the bat, I'm swinging my cast because it's a much lighter weight, so that means I'm going to just have to take a little bit of this off. It's like fishing in an alligator pit. I've got my weight just above here, and I've got the 2 cats sitting there waiting to catch it. Okay, so I will say I'm struggling with accuracy with this weight. I really am. I can get the distance, but I'm swinging it every time at the moment. So that's partly down to just experience. I don't fish quite that weight that often. I go down to 2 grams, but not 1. Okay. Well, overheaded cast. Oi! Oh dear. Overheaded cast never work with animals. Overheaded cast straight in there. Perhaps that's what I should have been doing at the beginning. Try it again, just see if it works. I think I was trying too hard. Okay, so as you can see, it quite happily casts down to 1 gram. So hopefully that answers that question. So, in conclusion, what do I actually think about the Majorcraft Speedstyle? I love it. I actually love this rod. It is my absolute go-to rod. It's a real joy to use. I think that boils down to a few things. Firstly, it's just incredibly light, and that's a really nice thing. So you're not lugging around a rod and feeling it, because when you're out there fishing all day, not that I ever get to do that, you don't want to be lugging around something really heavy. You want to sort of like have it as an extension of you, and not really have to think about it. Secondly, it casts and loads up and fights really, really well. As I said before, it is a fast action rod, but I thought that it was probably more of a sort of like medium sort of through action rod, but it definitely is a fast action rod. But it loads up really well, it fights really well, and it casts really accurately. So it's comfortable in the hand, and it's not overly expensive, and it is quite available in the UK. Tackle Wave, I believe, are the importers of Majorcraft rods over here in the UK, so go and check them out. But there's a few different online stores in the UK which actually have this rod. I think it retails for around about 170 quid. So, I mean, to many people that's quite a premium rod, and it is quite a premium rod. But look around and you'll probably find deals when new season opens up and they bring in new models. But yeah, I like this rod. I really, really like this rod, and you'll see it feature heavily on my channel over the next year. So we'll see how that all goes. But yeah, it's a big double thumbs up. Well done, Majorcraft. You made a good rod.